Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.
Shalom, 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 Yashar'el and Yahuda. The Elohim, the Allure, Eloi, is visiting the Eretz. Yahuwah has called me to cry loud and to spare not. He told me to lift up my voice like a trump in Zion. He said, warn the people. Warn them that in order to make it, in order to endure to the end, you must receive the witness. The witness in the Shamayim, heavens, Abba, the Word and the Ruach HaKodesh, and the witness in the Eretz, in the earth, in earthen vessels, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. Because this is the only thing that's going to cause you to endure in tribulation. Because tribulation is an ally. It's not an enemy. It's not something that is to be looked at as hostile. It is something that Yahuwah has brought to us because he's weeding out the righteous. He's separating the wheat and the chaff. And tribulation is instrumental in the process of establishing the righteous, right? Because the world is not, that world to come, Alua Yahuwah, the world to come, it's not made for a lot, it's made for a little. The world that we live in was made for many, but this many is called wicked. Yahuwah's got to establish a people, a righteous entity that will worship him in Ruach and in truth. Yeah, this is what this is about. Yahuwah, I pray in the name of Yahushua Mashiach that you would take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue. I give you praise right now in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach for the witness, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. I thank you for your witness of the witness in the Eretz. You, the Word, and the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuwah, I thank you for establishing me in righteousness through faith in the witness. Yahuwah, I thank you that you're visiting the earth. I thank you that you're visiting the earth. I thank you that you're visiting the earth. I give you praise, Yahuwah. I give you praise, Yahuwah. I pray right now that I would not cause anyone to stumble. I pray that I would not cause anyone to be turned out of the way. I pray that I would not be the result of anyone coming up lame. But Yahuwah, that your word, your Ruach word, would flow from me like rivers of living water. I pray, Yahuwah, that your word would spring up from me unto everlasting life to those who have an ear to hear. Yahuwah, you have established a righteousness from an everlasting plant of righteousness, Yahushua HaMashiach. Yahuwah, I thank you for establishing me. I thank you for establishing those that are amongst the other nations. I thank you for establishing Yashar'el and Yahuda. I thank you for Yisrael, Yaakov. I give you praise. Yahuwah, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Listen, the allure of the heavens is visiting the Eretz. Yahuwah is coming with judgment. He is coming with plagues. We are experiencing the beginnings of birth pains. Right? We are seeing Yahuwah's judgment in the Eretz, in the midst of these nations. Listen, make no mistake about it. These floods, these fire, this hailstone, this flooding in lands where it hasn't been, water hasn't seen in years. Yahuwah is visiting the earth. Right. Yahuwah is visiting the earth. The earth is in travail. Yahuwah is visiting the earth. Yahuwah is sending forth his judgment in the erect. And mind yourself that you got to understand that tribulation is on the way. Right? Tribulation is on the way. It's to come. It's coming. It's here. Right? It's here. Listen, the lion has been roused. The young lion and the old lion has been roused up. Right? Right? In the Americas, it's roused up. Right? The lion is roused up. Yahuwah is bringing forth judgment. Yahuwah is waking up his people. Now listen, understand. Waking up alone, understanding that you, the people, alone, ain't enough. It's not enough. Right? Because just because you know you the people, you still have to be awakened or quickened to his righteousness through faith in the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, and you have to receive his Ruach HaKodesh. See, that's why Yahuwah told me to cry loud, spare not. He said, lift up your voice like a trumpet sign. Tell my people that they need to receive this witness. They must have the Ruach HaKodesh. And what the Ruach HaKodesh looks like in signs following. You have to understand that Yahuwah has put in you his Ruach, right? We study in Ezra, and Ezra did not have Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh. He didn't receive Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh until he requested Yahuwah to give him his Ruach HaKodesh in order to be able to record everything that Yahuwah has spoken to him. See, he's given you those who have received his witness. He has given you his Ruach HaKodesh, right? His Ruach HaKodesh. Listen. Ephesians 1 and 13. In whom also ye trusted. Ephesians 1 and 13. After that ye heard the word of truth, right? Right? You received the witness of the Torah, right? Yahusha is the Torah made flesh. He is the Torah made flesh, full of grace and truth. You heard the word of truth, the Besorah of truth, the witness, the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, and through faith in his name, right? And then faith in his name, the Besorah, which he declared of your Yeshua, right? In whom also after that she believed the word of truth, right? You believed it, right? You believed the word of truth. You were sealed. You're sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh. You were sealed. You became his. You received that which identified you as the people. And see, and he was talking to the other nations at this time. Shaul was preaching to Ephesians, the assemblies in Ephesians, in Ephesus, right? Right? But that same Besorah, they had to receive. That same Ruach HaKodesh, they had to receive. The same Ruach HaKodesh that the apostles received on Pesach, on the day of Pentecost, right? On the day of Pentecost, was that Shavuos? On the day of Pentecost, right? They were filled, right, with the Ruach HaKodesh of truth and began to speak in other tongues as the Ruach HaKodesh gave utterance, right? Everybody began to speak that had received the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Who had been pre-qualified, right?
They received the witness, the word, the truth. Right. They were baptized. They received the blood of Yahushua for the atonement of their sins. Yahushua appeared before them. They received him. ADONAI. Yes, they received his witness. Now, the only thing that was left is that they would receive Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh that would come and abode, make his abode in them, right? But they would have it in measure, right? They would have it in measure, and the signs would follow them, and that they had it in measure, but they had the Ruach HaKodesh, which made them his. You must be born again. Yahushua himself declared that you must be born again. Right? But he says here, right? You were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh. You were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? You were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Which is what? The earnest of your inheritance. That's what Yahuwah is giving you as a down payment. And it's all you need to get the job done. It's all you need to endure to the end. It's all you need to have these signs follow you when you move in Emunah. It's all you need to get the job done, right? But you must have this, right? It's not enough just to wake up. It's not enough that you know you the people, right? You know, I told you I did all of my ancestries. Ancestry.com. I did mytrueancestry.com. I did another ancestry, dropped my stuff in that, and then I did the last one is African ancestry. Right. Listen, we know we Yahuda. We know we E1B1A. We know our Y haplo group. Right? We know that the nation of the Hebrew nation is E1B1A. We understand this, right? But that ain't gonna make you his people, right? You have to be established in righteousness. And the only way to get established in righteousness is by trusting in the word of truth, hearing and receiving the Basora of Yahushua that leads to salvation, right? Believing it. And then, you believe enough to be baptized. You believe enough to receive the blood. Now you got to believe enough to receive his Ruach HaKodesh, right? You were sealed with it, right? It's the earnest of your inheritance. Until the redemption of his purchased possession, to the gathering of his people. So that's why it's only going to be a remnant. Because only a righteous few are going to willingly endure to the end in the face of tribulation. You would say that again. Only a remnant is going to receive Yeshua because they are the ones that are only going to endure to the end through tribulation. See, they recognize that it's an ally. We glory in tribulation, my Aki Hezekiah. We glory in tribulation. Tribulation is an ally, right? Because, it identifies us as his people. And if we can endure to the end, this witness is for those who endure to the end. Yeshua is for those who endure to the end. Being a part of his kingdom is for those who endure to the end. Point blank, period. Right? And if you're not willing to endure to the end, you're going to endure some sufferings. Some of you may endure different types of sufferings. Right? I mean, we all may not have the same tribulation. Right? But I truly believe as a man of Yahuwah, Yahuwah's going to bring me out, right? He's going to keep me to keep the word until he has had everything that he needs me to do completed in me. It's the earnest of your inheritance to the redemption of the purchased. He purchased us with the blood of Yahushua Mashiach. We are his possession, right? He told Ezra, do you love Yahuwah's people more than him? Ezra says, no. I was just, he was getting ready to expound on why he made the statement that he did about hating Yahuwah's people, right? Or he was hating his people, right? But Yahuwah loves his people. Let's understand this. Yahuwah loves those that keep his commandments. He does not care about the wicked. Yahuwah does not care about the wicked. See, and those that love Yahuwah are those that keep his commandments, because he shows mercies unto thousands of him that love him and keep his commandments. Yahushua said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments as I has kept the Father's commandments, right? So if you don't keep Yahuwah's commandment, you despise him. And if you despise him, you're wicked, right? You're wicked because you don't do what he says, right? Which is to keep his commandments, right? You wicked, right? You're going to be judged. You got to understand, right? You've been given a choice, right? To endure the pleasures of sin for a season, or to wait for an eternal inheritance, right? I ain't laid up no treasures here on the earth. No, I'm not laying treasures up here on the earth. I'm not hustling trying to be a millionaire. I'm not laying up my treasures here on the earth, right? If Yahuwah should give me $1 million, I'm going to use that to advance the kingdom and move people to the continent. Get them out of Egypt, Mitzrayim, out of Babylon. Listen. To wake up my people on the continent, because they my people. Judah is first to go back to the continent, right? To the land, right? We got to wake up the people. Who don't care about the wicked? You know, if Yahuwah has chosen you for righteousness, he has put his name in you. You have received Yahushua Mashiach. You have his witness, right? And you love him. You consider yourself blessed. If you have the Ruach HaKodesh, you consider yourself blessed. You get into a place where you develop yourself ruachally and you endure to the end. And if grandmama and them don't make it, listen, guess what? They wicked, and it ain't for them to make it. If your kids don't make it, hey, they wicked, right? And it ain't given for them to make it. See, I know that's gonna be hard for some young men. Not my baby. Yeah, you can hold on to your baby if you want to, right? Your baby gonna send you right to the right into outer darkness, right? Because you ain't gonna want to endure to the end, because you're gonna see baby boys suffer, baby girls suffering. I love my kids. I love them. But you know what? If you don't receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, right? Understand something. When tribulation comes,
It's going to come. Is it going to grieve me? Is it going to hurt me? Yeah, but you know what? I ain't going to let it grieve me long. Because you know what? The wicked made the choice of being wicked still. See, my kids know. My kids know. Righteousness. Yahuwah is judging the wicked. He's judging the wicked. When you see the destruction of the wicked, you gotta know that Yahuwah is judging the wicked. Yahuwah is judging the wicked. Now, I'm trying to remember where we left off in Ezra. Let's look at it from, let's start at the 38th verse. And we're going to try to push our way through this 5th chapter. Understand this, right? When you understand Ezra, you have to understand him in reference to a man that Yahuwah has told to tell a people something. Right? Right? And all that prophet has to do is speak what Yahuwah has spoken to him verbatimly. And he done said what thus saith Yahuwah. He is the word of Yahuwah. Right? Right? Prophets weren't freelancers. Right? Right? They were people that Yahuwah had gave a word to give to the people. Right? They didn't deviate. Right? They were followed instructions. Hence the reason why Yahuwah used them as prophets. Because he knew when he says, Son of Man, tell the people. He knew he was going to tell them. Right? Right? It didn't even require Ruach HaKodesh. It just required you knowing that that Yahuwah has spoken a word to you and that you better comply. Right? And they went forth. Now, there was times that the Ruach HaKodesh demonstrated his power in these men of Yahuwah, right? But you know, it wasn't like Ezra was sitting around with the Ruach HaKodesh. Ezra was a prophet. He was given a word by Yahuwah, and he was called to tell that word, right? And if Yahuwah gave him a different word, he was called to tell that word. Yahuwah told me, tell them, Son of Man, that they must receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. Tell them they must have the Ruach HaKodesh, the seal, the earnest, the down payment, the exceeding greatness of this power. They must have that on the inside of them to be identified with me, because my Ruach in them means that I am in them, and if I am in them, then they are mine. You and me, me and you, we are one. Gotta understand this. You gotta understand this. You got to recognize this. Now Ezra, the prophet, all he had to do was what you were told him to do. Say what I told you to say. Right? He went forth and said it. And people, what he had to say, didn't mean nothing to them. Right? They held him at naught and despised his covenant. Right? Right? They were wicked. They were idolaters. Right? They were living the life of adultery and whoredom. They were murderers. They was shedding innocent blood. They were offering up their children as sacrifices. They were worshiping other elves in Jerusalem. They were worshiping other elves in groves in Yahuwah's land. It's wicked. Right? Wicked. Yahuwah told Ezra, listen, go tell the people they're wrong. They didn't want to hear. Right? Ezra went into captivity with him. Right? Yahuwah watched over Ezra. Right? Because he was Ezra prophet. He was going to use Ezra to declare what thus saith Yahuwah to those that are in bondage in the captivity. Right? Ezra coat chilling on his bed. 30 years into the captivity. Starting to feel a certain way. Right? Now,
Ezra loved the Israel. He loved the nation. He loved the people, right? But just because you love a people don't make you justified in questioning Yahuwah. And if the truth be told, Ezra was giving guidelines as to why Yahuwah was going to bring them into judgment. And what he's going to do to the land. What he's going to do to the people that come up after them. Ezra knew this. 30 years in, tribulation. Start to wondering, where's Yahuwah? Right? Where's Yahuwah? You people are being persecuted. Your priests are being murdered. Your kings, eyes plucked out. Young daughters are being raped. Your wives are being raped. Sons are being raped. Murdered, killed. That's just witnessing the tribulation. Now understand something. What they went through in tribulation was because of their wickedness. Right? See, but what we experience in tribulation, we glory in. Because in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, we have been established in righteousness. We ain't that people that are in sin. We are that people that are idolaters. We are not that people that shed innocent blood. Right? We're the people of you. Why? Because we've been sealed. We received the word, the Basora, the Torah of truth, the Basora of truth, of our salvation. We were sealed. Right? So when we go through tribulation, right, our tribulation works for us on our behalf. See, we ain't being raped. Not us who've been sealed. Not us who belong to Yahuwah and Yahusha. Yahuwah is not going to allow the daughters of Zion in tribulation that are crying out before him and the nation with weeping, praying in Yahuwah's Ruach to be raped. That ain't their tribulation. Don't get it twisted. What the nation had experienced under Babylon was the result of their wickedness. They were wicked. They were diabolical. See, we've overcome. And we may have to testify, right? It may cost us our life. Right? We gain. Shaul said, for me to live is Hamashiach. For me to die is gain. I'm between the two. I'm trying to decide whether it be better for me to die or to remain. Like, it's necessary for your sake that I remain. But, truth be told, I'd rather be with Hamashiach. See, Ezra, that prophet, he was called to cry loud. Despair not. He was called to declare the word of Yahuwah to people. He did. He didn't remember what he said. 30 years in, of course, he was looking at Yahuwah like, Yahuwah's the problem. It's your people, right? Do you hate your people? Why not you judge them with your own hands instead of letting these wicked heathens judge your people? For you will give you into the hands of that you serve. Right? That's your judgment. Yahuwah knew what your judgment was going to be because that's your judgment. Right? You committed adultery with another El. Right? You started offering sacrifices to another El. Well, Yahuwah's going to give you to that El. He's going to give you to the people of that El. Right? You're going to go into captivity to that El. And now you're going to really see what it looks like to be the victims of those who serve those Els. We just gave them over. Gave them over to what they desired. Because, they got tired of them. And all their wickedness. Right? Right? And Yisrael, right, it had to come to a full too. Right? Yaakov had to come to the full. Yaakov had to be weeded out. Right? Because not all Yisrael is Yisrael. Yeah, they E1B1A. But do they have that Yahushua HaMashiach, blood, water, and Ruach HaKodesh, a supernatural chromosome? That thing that sets you apart, that makes you his. Ezra loved Yisrael. He loved his people. Yahuwah tolerated him because Yahuwah knew he loved his people. He was in his feelings, right? He was weeping, praying, and fasting. 7 days he's weeping, praying, and fasting over Yisrael. Seeing what they went through. Understanding that there's a judgment that they're going to go through. Because of sin, because of Adam. They could have Yahuwah's favor if they just love him and keep his commandments. But this fascination with these other elves, it's fascinated with these other elves. It's fascinated with the El of football, the El of basketball, the El of American Idol, and I want to be a superstar. The L of money and capitalism and the L's that are all over everywhere you look. Just say, come get some of me. Come get some of me. Come worship with me. L's. Right? People want to worship L's. Right? Israel wanted to worship L's. Ezra loved Yisrael. But he didn't love him more than Yahuwah. Yahuwah loved them and wrote their name in the Shamayim. Yaakov. Listen. Yahuwah wrote my name. Yaakov ben Zion Gaal. He's going to give me a new name, right? Incidentally, right? The name Yaakov Yahuda Gaal, right? Well, my middle name is James, right? So the equivalent of James is Yaakov, right? So I took my middle name because I didn't want Weldon Walker. There's no, that's plantation slave name, right? But Yaakov, keep Yaakov. And I am of Yehuda. So I am Yaakov of Yehuda, right? But Yahuwah told me, you're Gaal. You're the guardian of the Torah, right? You're my sword of righteousness. You're the carer and the bearer of my word, right? So, Yaakov Yahuda Gaal is the name that I have, right? But I understand, right? That's the people of you, right? That's the man of you. I have to be prepared to do whatever Yahuwah tells me to say whatever Yahuwah wants me to say, to declare the word that Yahuwah wants me to declare. I cannot tell you what Yahuwah's words say. I cannot. I have to tell you what thus says ADONAI, Ahai, Yahuwah. I gotta say what he says. I have to. I cannot not say it. Right? So Ezra, the man of Yahuwah. Ezra, a man who did not have Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh, but a man who loved the nation, right? A man who questioned Yahuwah in reference to what Yahuwah was doing. A man who questioned Yahuwah's judgment. Who questions Yahuwah's judgment? Right? He didn't have the Ruach HaKodesh. But see, he's given us his Ruach HaKodesh. All right, so let's go. Second Ezra, the 5th chapter, the 38th verse. Right? He says, let's start at the verse 36. He said unto me, number me the things that are not yet to come, and gather me together the drops that are scattered abroad. That's right. You know, if you can do this, right, then you have a right to question my judgment. Right? I mean, if you can accomplish this, you know, and I'll say to you, Ezra, you can question my judgment. Right? Right? He says, and make me the flowers green again that are withered. Can you do that, Ezra? Make green the flowers that are withered, right? Because if you could do this, right? He says, open me the places that are closed and bring forth the winds. Can you do this, Ezra? Open to me the places that are closed. Or what places are closed? What places are sealed up? Open them, though. Because there's places that are closed. There are things that are sealed. There are things that you can't get to. No man can get to. But if you can do that. Right? He said, listen. And bring me forth the winds. And them are shut up. Bring me the winds. You know, I shut the winds up. Yeah. Bring them 9 miles an hour out of the southeast. Right? But you know, I can shut them. And go back where you came from. Don't come out of the southeast at 9 miles an hour. Can you do that, Ezra? He says, show me the image of a voice. Because, you know, a voice has image. Right? Voice has image. Every voice is like a fingerprint. It is pictured individual. Right? Can you see it? Show it to me. And then I will declare to thee the things that thou labourest to know. I'll tell you these things if you can tell me these things. If you can do any of these things, then I will gladly, right? I will gladly declare unto you the things that you labor to know, right? I said, O Adonai, thou bearest rule. Right? You have the rulership over all of these things, right? Who may know these things? These are in your mind. These are in your thoughts. Your thoughts are not my thoughts. Your ways are not my ways. I just want to know your way. But Ezra, it's not given to you to know my ways. You can know my way in obedience to keeping Torah, right? Because my way is keeping Torah. Because if you keep Torah, then you will always be blessed in my way. You will always be the recipients of mercy. I will always demonstrate my love to you, right? But you ain't gonna know my mind. You're not gonna know what I think, how I thought, my thought process. You can know what my word says, and I'm gonna do what my word says. But the reasonings behind what I think, no. You can't do that. He says, and I said, thou bearest rule. Who may know these things, but he that's not indwelling with man? Absolutely. You are in the arets. The things that are given into the arets are for you to understand. Right? But the things of the Shamayim, listen, that's altogether a different place of operation. That's a whole different territory. That's just a whole different realm. Right? He says, as for me, I am unwise. Right? Because you don't have a Ruach. You don't have the Ruach with us. Shlomo had the Ruach of wisdom. Shlomo said, look, you give it to me now, wisdom. Give me the Ruach of this wisdom. That might go out coming for his people. For who can rule this game? People of thine. Ooh, I need your Ruach of wisdom. He would say, look, you can have it. It's yours. Right? He was anointed king. It was necessary for him to have the Ruach of Yahuwah, that anointing that separated him, right? And gave him what he needed to be the king over the people, over the nation. He was submitted to the Ruach HaKodesh, right? But Ezra was the prophet of Yahuwah, that Yahuwah gave him instructions to carry a word. He carried that word, and 30 years later, he laying on his bed looking at everything and that the nation of Israel has gone through and starting to question Yahuwah. See, because Ruach HaKodesh ain't going to cause you to question Yahuwah. Oh, no. Not the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach HaKodesh ain't going to cause you to question Yahuwah. The Ruach HaKodesh is going to be satisfied with the outcome of whatever Yahuwah does. Because the Ruach HaKodesh of truth is the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah. So if Yahuwah does a thing, then the Ruach HaKodesh is satisfied that what Yahuwah's done was the right thing to do. Obviously, when you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, you're scatterbrained. Your mind get to wondering, you get to thinking, you get to contemplating, you get to consulting your heart. Your heart is emotional. You're moved by your emotions. But the Ruach HaKodesh brings all that under subjection. Right? The Ruach HaKodesh leads you and guides you to all truth. The Ruach HaKodesh is going to lead you to say, nevertheless, not my will, Yahuwah, but thy will be done. Right? Yeah, we in captivity, but Yahuwah, I praise you because I know that captivity don't last always. Yeah, our people are suffering, right? But you know what? If they in their hearts turn to you, you're going to keep them through this captivity. You just got to be willing to endure. Right? So, we have him saying, right? As for me, I am unwise. Right? How may I then speak of these things whereof thou asked me? Yahuwah knows he ain't got the Ruach. Yahuwah knows that he's just a natural man. The Ruach, Yahuwah is bringing Ezra to a place, right? Because this is all about bringing Ezra to a place where he can understand, record, document, and put that information out for the people, right? Now, this is plan of Yahuwah. He chose Ezra. The prophet that was there with them in the captivity, he chose them.
He needed him to understand what the captivity looks like. But listen, the captivity that we are in is was far greater than the captivity that they experienced. Because Yahuwah said the wickedness is going to be increased wickedly. So what Esdras had experienced, though, was wicked in his day. The wickedness that we're moving into to the full. Listen. Yahuwah himself told Ezra, listen, it must come to a full. It's got to be again like the days of Noah. Right? It has to be like the day of Noah. Right? It has to be like the Iron Throne. Menstrual women are going to be producing beasts, monsters, right? Giants. Synonym for monsters is giants. You better get a clue. Listen, you gonna have to have Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh. You're gonna have to be establishing the witness in righteousness, right? Because these things are gonna be happening, right? And if you and Yahuwah, you're gonna be kept. But you got to stay in Yahuwah on your knees, and you got to be trusting in him. You got to be fasting. You got to be praying. You got to be dedicated. He said, listen. He says, then said he unto me, like as thou canst do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgments. Ezra, you don't need to know why I think and do what I do. But whatever I reveal to you, I'll reveal to you concerning some of the things that I will do. But, you look, don't ask me why I do what I do. Sometimes, as parents, kids be like, you tell them to do something. They say, but why? Well, don't ask me why, boy. Oh, explanation? Don't do it. Now, truly, right, there's a reason why we don't want you to do a thing. It's because, we bear in our bodies the mistakes and the scars of the decisions that we made that you are about to make in reference to something that, I may have said to them not to do. I may not go into no deep explanation about, well, your father was that. No, you don't need to know all that. Sometimes all you need to know is no. You don't need to know my judgments. You don't need to know what's going on in my head. I have never been a proponent of explaining to kids everything that you tell them no to do. Why? Boy, if you ask me why, you better not do it. You better not do it. Oh, man. Listen. He says, canst thou not find out my judgments, or in the end, the love that I have promised unto my people? You can't understand my judgment, and even though what appears to you as me hating the people, right? You'll never understand the love that I have for them. I chose Yaakov from amongst the people. I chose Yaakov from amongst the people, excuse me. I chose Yaakov from amongst the people. You can't possibly know how much I love you. I chose Yaakov from amongst the nation. Them Hebrews. I made a promise to Avraham
Yitzhak, and Jacob. I delivered the nation out of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. I freed them from the elves of Mitzrayim. I destroyed Mitzrayim's elves before them. And I destroyed Pharaoh before them. I literally took their elves and crushed them. And I crushed Pharaoh in water. You can't possibly know how much I love the people of you. How much I love the people. How I've endured them, even though they continually break my covenant. See, I understand that, that the wickedness is going to come to a full. I'm going to make provisions for them. Yeah. I'm going to send my son. Right? Because the days and the times are wicked, and I need my son. I need that high priest that I have declared forever. After the order of Melchizedek, Yahushua Mashiach. He who has become the Lamb of Yahuwah, take away the sins of the world. Listen, my son. Right? See, Ezra, you have to understand that I love my people. Listen, Yahuwah so loved the Eretz. He so loved the Eretz, right? The world, the Eretz, that he gave his son, that whosoever believed in the name, him shall Yahuwah grant eternal life. Right? So you got to believe the witness. You got to trust, right? After having received the word of truth. The basor of your Yeshua. Right? And you have to receive his Ruach HaKodesh. Be sealed. Those that believed were sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh promise. Right? Right? You have been sealed with the Ruach HaKodesh promise, which is the earnest, the down payment of your inheritance until the purchased possession. You have to understand how much I love my people. You have to know that in my love for them, I still have to chasten them. This captivity is a chastisement. This is a chastisement for their willful disobedience and rejection of me, for having despised my covenant, right? I've given them over to their own desires, and in the end, it's a chastisement. And see, Yahuwah loved his people so that Yahushua came to be chastised in our place. The chastisement of our peace. He was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. Who loved us so much that in the chastising of the nation, Ezra was feeling a certain way. But, in order to bring peace, Yahuwah had to bring chastisement first. In order to bring peace, to restore a nation, to establish a kingdom, to make permanent a house of dominion, he had to send Yahushua to suffer. Greater love hath no man than this. Yahushua demonstrated his love. He laid down his life. Willingly became a sacrifice. Yahushua. Love. Who said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Love one another. Walk in the Torah and the Basura of truth. You know what Yahuwah says about what you need to do in Torah in relationship to your brother. Do it. Right? This is a renewed covenant for you. This ain't no new commandment. He said, I ain't giving you a new commandment. Yeah, I told you to love. But, you know, this is Torah. He said, listen. And I said, behold, O Adonai, yet art thou nigh unto them that be reserved to the end. And what shall they do that have been before me, or that it be now, or they shall come after? So Yahuwah has those that he has reserved, right, until the end. Those who have received the witness, right? Those who have believed the report, right? Yeah, I know people be like, well, you know, what about the people that went in and died in Emunah that trusted Yahuwah and the Torah, right? Right? Well, Yahushua dealt with that in the grave. Yahushua dealt with them, right? Stop making things complicated. Right? Listen. Thou art now nigh unto them that be reserved to the end, right? Near to them. And what shall they do that have been before me? Right? Or we that be now, or they that shall come after us. What we gonna do? Well, Ezra, if they turn, then they will be restored. But if they don't turn, they will remain wicked and they will suffer judgment. It's not a complicated thing. It's about righteousness. It's righteousness versus wickedness. It's doing right as opposed to doing wrong. It's doing the Torah as opposed to not doing the Torah. It's about keeping my judgments as opposed to not keeping my judgments. He says, and he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring, like as there is no slackness of the last, even so of no swiftness of the first. I think I dealt with that last time. So I answered and said, couldst thou not make those that have been made, and now, and be now, and that are for to come at once, that thou mightest show thy judgment sooner? You know, we always trying to move you who was playing ahead. Trying to rush Yahuwah. Yahuwah, couldn't you have done all of this at one time? You know, why'd you have to spread it out? You know? Shouldn't have done this at one time? Well, done. Couldn't you have done it? And then he answered me and said, the creature may not hasten above the maker. Listen, I made you. You can't make me move faster. You can't hasten me to move faster. Right? He said.
He said, and neither may the world hold them at once that should be created there. Listen, the world can't hold everybody that has ever been created in it. From the time of Adam until our time, everybody in their season or in their weeks, you know, Yahuwah divided this into weeks, right? Right? We in the end of the 7th week, right? And in our week, we got a bunch of people, right? And then you got the beginning of the 8th week, right? That we may be fortunate enough to cross over into, because that's where we're at now, right? Because we're that righteousness selected from an everlasting plan of righteousness at the end of the 7th week, right? But the beginning of that 8th week, and after there shall be another week, an 8th week of righteousness, to which shall be given a sword to execute judgment and justice upon all the oppressed. That's the 8th week, right? But we already know the 7th week is a perverse generation shall arise. We watching that abundance in their deeds, and all the deeds are perverse. We know that. Now we see that. Listen, now you see that. That's perverse, right? Right? It's pornonia, right? He says, and all the deeds are pornonia, perverse. During the completion, the righteous shall be selected. The righteous. Yashar'el, waking up, turning to faith in Hamashiach, right? The righteous shall be selected from an everlasting plan of righteousness. Yahusha is that vine, that plant, and we are Yahusha is the vine, and we're the branches, right? We're that righteous branch of Yahusha Hamashiach. And to them shall be given the 7-fold doctrine of the whole creation. Listen. Understand. Wickedness must come to the full. Ezra, wickedness must come to the full. And no, we can't put it all in one time. This thing is broken down in weeks. Right? Right? The earth can't sustain the whole. Right? Ezra like, well, this could have all been settled at once. Just, bring all 7 weeks into 1 week, and all the people, the births, the righteous elected from the plant, No, can't be done. You can't understand this. Ezra, he says, and he answered me and said, the creature may not haste above the maker, neither may the world hold them all at once that shall be created therein. And I said, as thou said unto thy servant, that thou which givest life to all, hast given life at once to the creatures that thou hast created, and the creatures bear it. Even so, it might now also bear them that now be present at once. See, this is a result of not having a Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach HaKodesh ain't gonna have you like that. See, that's why you gave us the earnest of the inheritance. See, we have what we need to get the job done, right? He's literally giving us his Ruach HaKodesh, right? He says, listen. And he said unto me, ask the womb of a woman, and say unto her, if thou bringest forth children, why doest thou it not altogether? Oh, woman, you have 6 children. Why don't you just have all of them together? There's some quadruplets, and that. I mean, you get multiple births sometimes. It's a rarity, but you get the multiple births sometimes. But the idea is that
Can a woman birth all the babies at once? Right? Right? Can a woman birth all her babies at once? Right? If thou bringest forth children, why doest thou it not together? If you're gonna know you're gonna have a bunch of kids, why don't you have them all at once? But one after another, pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. Come on, Here Ezra. Ezra says, and I said she cannot, but must do it by distance of time. This nation, this kingdom, this rulership, right, has to be birthed in the fullness of time. We are the woman in travail, right? We bringing forth Yashar'el. See, this is the message, right? It's not all that deep philosophical, deep stuff. The message is you must be born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. The message is that you must receive the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood, right? Right. That's the message, right? And then in doing so, you have to understand you have to keep Torah. That's the message. That's it. That's what we have to do, right? All this deep stuff. All this deep stuff. You ain't got to do all that deep stuff, right? He says you can't do it. He says, then said he unto me, even so have I given the womb of the earth. Womb of the earth, right? To bring that be sown in it in their time. See, listen. Yahuwah has me in this time, in this dispensation. Still the voice, crying loud and sparing not. Still the voice, lifting it up like a trumpet in Zion. Still the voice, telling people that you must be born again of the water of the Ruach HaKodesh. Still the voice, saying that you must receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. The voice that says you must have the Ruach HaKodesh, right? In this time. At this time. Right? And only a certain number of people going to hear it. Only a certain number of people going to receive it. Right? Because, look what happened with Esdras. That's it, man. It ain't all. You gotta do all of that. That's all churchy. Look, man, we don't want nothing to do with that. We ain't got nothing to do with that, right? We're gonna just keep the Torah. Right? We know what we doing. We know who we serve. It's the same thing, It's the same thing. People don't want to hear the truth, right? They should know the truth. The truth should make them free. There's only a truth that's in the Besor and the Besor and the Torah of truth with the Ruach HaKodesh of truth. You can't even understand it without the Ruach HaKodesh truth. It's tight, but it's right. He said, listen, the earth is the womb, and it's sown in her time. For like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the aged, even so have I disposed the world which I created. Same way, right? As I asked and said, seeing thou hast now given me the way, I will proceed to ask before thee for our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draw now nigh unto age. Right? Yeah, she get old. Yashar'el is coming to age. The nation is coming to age. The nation is being birthed. The nation is being birthed. Now, this nation
Yashar'el and Yehuda, this nation, grafted in Gentiles, right, who receive and believe on him, right? This mixed multitude, these 12 tribes with diverse fruit. Yeah. He says, for like as a young child may not bring forth the things that belong to the age, even so have I disposed the world which I've created, right? And I asked and said, see, thou hast now given me the way, right? I will proceed to ask before thee, right? Now I'm asking you, for our mother Yashar'el, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draws nigh unto age, right? He answered me and said, ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, wherefore are not thy womb thou hast now brought forth, like those that were before of less of stature, right? So what does he say? He said, listen. It's a biological fact that as a woman ages, right, the strength of her eggs, right, this is deep. The strength of her eggs, right, though she may produce, right, aren't the same as they were if she was 20. But now she's 40 and 30. He says, ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, wherefore are not thy womb, thou whom thou hast now brought forth, like those that were before, but less of stature, right? Say unto her, and she shall answer thee, that they be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion. Children born in your youth is of one fashion. Right? And they that are born of the time of age, right? When a womb fails, are otherwise. Or when the womb gets older, right? Like that's why when Sarah was told by the angel you're going to have a child, she laughed. I'm 70 years old. I had never had a pregnant. I never had a pregnancy. And my womb is old. Damn, see, but you done something special in her womb. Yeah. That womb brought forth. Yes, gotta understand. You gotta understand. He said, consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. You know, I got to thinking about that, because if you look at the book of Jubilees, I think it's Jubilees, or Yash, one of the others, just look at the things that we were doing as Yahudim in the early years of the 12 tribes and the brothers, Yaakov. Man, they were doing supernatural things, man. Why? Because the earth was young, right? Everything was young. They did things that we gonna have to Ruach HaKodesh to do.
Joseph like, man, listen, you got three brothers that went into a city. I think it was Yaakov, Ephraim, and Levi. I think it was those three. Went into the city after they had raped their daughter and killed them all. All the men. Whole city. How's that possible? It's not the same. He said, it's not the same. He said, it's not the same. He said, listen. Consider thou therefore also how that ye are lesser of stature than those who were before you. Right? Something different about you. Stature is different. Lesser in stature. I'm lesser in stature than they which were born at the time of Yahushua's witness. They are lesser in stature than those who were born at the time of King Dawid. And they were lesser of stature than those that were the initial sons, the 12 tribes, the progenitors. Avraham went in with 300 men and wiped out 7 kings, 3 kings. Put them running, chased them down, and took everything they had over Lot. 300 men, 300 of his servants. That's why they've created super soldiers. These genetically modified soldiers, right? They want them to have what Yahuwah had originally in the world, but it has lost its strength. He says, and so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old. Listen, that's why you have instinctive. That's why you got animals going into extinction. Right? That's why you have species dying off. Right? That's why you have climate change. They call it global warming. No, that's Yahuwah's time clock and Yahuwah's judgment. Right? Because this world is going to be replaced. See, Yahuwah has a people for this world. So we can't lay up our treasures on the earth. We can't just look for what we see now. We got to receive the witness. We got to be prepared to endure. We got to fight for good fight of Emunah. We got to do this. We got to fight the good fight of Emunah. We have to do this. And then said I, Adonai, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. There we have the 5th chapter of the book of 2nd Esdras. The prophet of Yahuwah, he who Yahuwah has called to warn the people. He whom Yahuwah has called to warn the people, to warn them. Israel. And Yahuwah has given us a word. See, you know why? That's why they took these books out. They took them out. They don't want you to connect the dots. See, because the Ruach HaKodesh is bringing forth the sevenfold doctrines of creation. Right? Creation is weeks. We're in the 7th week. And there are 10 weeks. We're into the end of the 7th week, moving full steam ahead in the 8th week. Right? And you got 10 weeks. Oh, it's coming to an end. Trumps, the wormwood, the moon and the sun and the stars, shortened. Right? He says, and when he had opened the 7th seal, Revelations 8:1, there was silence in the Shamayim in the space of a half an hour. Silence before judgment. The quiet before the storm. Right? And then I saw 7 angels which stood before Eluah, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints. See, because our prayers are collected. Right? And they're going up before you, right? That with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. Right? And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the Kodeshim ascended up before Eluah out of the angel's hands. Right? And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And the angel took the censer, right, and filled it with fire of the altar and casted it into the earth. And there were voices and thundering and lightnings and earthquakes. Right? See, listen, you think you're going to be able to run into your bunker? You're going to run into your underground bunker? When Yahuwah starts to send earthquakes? When that ground starts to contract and retract and untract and contract? Squeeze you like He says, and the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. And the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. Right?
And there were casted upon the earth a third part of the trees burnt up, and all the green grass was burned up. Third part of the trees and all the green grass was burnt up. Second angel sounded, and it was a great mountain burning with fire, a volcano, right? Fire burning, and cast it into the sea. It erupted and it went into the sea. And a third part of the sea became blood. Judgment. Because you shed his innocent blood. And the third part of the creatures that were in the sea had life died. And the third part of the ships were destroyed. Ships. Third part of the ships. Destroyed. Right. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, Maburu. Anyway. Burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon a third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of the water. And the name of the star was called Wormwood. And the third part of the water became wormwood. And many men died of the water because they were made bitter. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not, nor the part of the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying throughout the midst of the Shammai, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the Eretz. Right? By reason of the other voices of the trumpets of the three angels which are yet to sound. Right? And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star falling from the heavens to the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. CERN. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and a smoke of a great furnace, and the sun were filled with darkness by reason of the smoke of the pit. Yeah, these hydrogen colliders, man, they're going to bust open something, and it's going to release something in the earth. Right? And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. Right? Not normal locusts. Right? And unto them was given the power of a scorpion. Right? Of the earth have power. Power of scorpions. Right? And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green things, either in any trees, but only those men which have not the seal. Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Of Elu in their foreheads. Now. See, everybody think you got that this glowing seal in your head. No, the seal is a Ruach HaKodesh. He's the head of you. Right? Ruach HaKodesh is the head, the first of everything in you. It is Yahuwah in you. Right? You have to have the seal of Yahuwah. Right? And to them it was given that they should kill them, but they that should be tormented 5 months. So you sting them, they suffer for 5 months, and then they die. Right? As the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a man. Right? He says,
He strikes a man. He says, and in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, but death shall flee from them. And the shape of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were crowns like gold, right? And their faces were as the face of men, right? And their hair was as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were the breastplates of iron, and the sound of wings was the sounds of their chariots of many horses running to battle. They had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months, right? And they had a king over them, an angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew is Abaddon, right? But in the Greek, his name is Pallion, right? Woe, one woe is past, behold, 2 more woes are come. Man of y'all, woman of y'all, you can read the rest of that on your own. This is what Ezra, the revealing that the Malachim gave to Ezra. He said, listen, if you make it past the first trumpet, he told, if you make it past the 3rd trumpet, man of y'all, woman of y'all, listen, you have to receive the witness of Yeshua Mashiach in order to escape this wickedness. If you don't receive the witness of Yeshua Mashiach, you will not escape this wickedness. You will not escape this wrath to come. Right? Right? You have to receive the witness in order to be his. Yahweh, I pray right now in the name of Yeshua Mashiach that the words you've given me to give to them, they would keep. Yahweh, I pray that it would be life and peace to them. It would be medicine to their flesh. I pray that those that you have chosen to hear this word would hear it in Ruach and in truth. That it would set them apart, that it would quicken them, that it would make them alive. This Besorah, this Torah of truth, that they would exercise the power of the Ruach HaKodesh in them, the spirit of wisdom and revelation and the knowledge of Yahuwah. I pray. I thank you in the name of Yeshua Mashiach for your word. Yahuwah, allow your word continually to be that lamp and that light in the name of Yeshua Mashiach. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Man of y'all, woman of y'all, called the greatest woman of you, beautifully wonderfully made today. Yahuwah has favored you. That's all I got. That's all the Ruach HaKodesh has given me. May Yahuwah bless you and keep you. With that, I say shalom, shalom, shalom. Be blessed. Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.